Hello, and welcome back to Fluent and Forward, your favorite cozy corner for real English and real life growth. I am Emma, and I am sitting here with my big mug of chamomile tea, feeling very warm.
And I'm Liam, watching the rain tap against the window and thinking about how our internal weather often starts the moment we open our eyes. It is so good to have you all here with us today.
You know, Liam, I was thinking about that one specific person we all know, the one who wakes up smiling and energized while the rest of us are fighting the snooze button. It's like they have a secret.
Exactly. It feels like they're operating on a different set of batteries, or maybe they're just lucky with their genetics. But honestly, most of us feel like we've been run over by life before the day even begins.
I have to be candid here. That was me this morning. I hit the snooze button 4 times, and each time I felt more tired and more defeated. It was like I was starting the day in a deep hole.
Oof, the snooze loop is a dangerous game, Emma. It's like trying to start a car engine and then immediately turning it off over and over again. Your brain gets so confused.
It really does. And then the first thing I did, and I'm so ashamed to admit this, was grab my phone and scroll through social media for 20 minutes.
The digital trap. We think we are waking up our brains, but we're actually flooding them with stress before we even sit up. It's like inviting 100 noisy strangers into your bedroom the second you wake up.
That is such a perfect way to put it, Liam. By the time I actually got out of bed, my heart was racing because of a work email I saw, and I felt grumpy because of a random comment online.
That is the truth nobody tells you. Happiness isn't about luck or happy pills. It is almost entirely about what you do in those very first 60 minutes after you open your eyes.
And that is exactly why we are diving into this incredible blueprint today. We're breaking down 10 morning habits that are actually backed by real neuroscience and psychology.
This isn't just a temporary feel-good boost for an hour. We're talking about emotional elevation that lasts all day long by shifting your brain's chemistry.
I'm honestly so excited to try these because I'm tired of starting my day by accident. I want to start it on purpose, with clarity and peace.
Me too. And listeners, stay tuned because when we reach habit number 7, you really need to listen closely. It is a total game changer that rewires your emotional baseline.
I've heard that habit 7 is the one that people feel the shift from instantly. If you miss that one, you might miss the whole transformation of your morning.
So, if you're currently lying in bed or driving to work feeling a bit meh, don't worry, you aren't broken. You just need a better morning ritual that doesn't add more stress.
Exactly. We're going to walk through this together step by step so you can become that energetic morning person without it feeling like a chore. Let's get into the first few habits. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this blueprint. Habit 1 is what the science calls the 60-second wake-up reset. It is so simple that it almost sounds too easy to work, but the rule is very strict. When you wake up, don't grab your phone.
No scrolling, no messages, and definitely no YouTube, even if it is our channel. Liam, I'm looking at you. I know you love checking the football scores the second you blink. Guilty as charged, Emma. Honestly, my hand moves toward my phone like it's a magnet. But think about it this way. Your brain is like a very expensive, high-speed computer. When you first turn it on, it needs a moment to load the operating system. If you start clicking 100 apps the second the screen lights up, the whole system crashes. That is exactly what we do to our heads when we check notifications immediately.
Exactly. And the source says that taking just 60 seconds to breathe and notice you're awake is a transition pause. Just one peaceful minute increases your serotonin, which is your natural mood stabilizer, and lowers your cortisol, that nasty stress hormone that spikes the moment you see a stressful text or a negative headline.
It's like giving your brain a soft start instead of a caffeine fireball start. You're telling your brain, hey, we're starting today on purpose, not by accident. It sets the emotional tone for the whole day.
I tried this yesterday, Liam, and I have to tell you, it was the longest 60 seconds of my life. I was lying there, and my thumb was literally twitching because it wanted to scroll. I felt so restless. I didn't even know how to just be awake without a screen in front of my face.
That restlessness is the cortisol trying to take over. It's like a little monster in your head saying, feed me drama, feed me news. But if you can just breathe through those 60 seconds, the monster calms down. Did you feel any different after the minute was up?
Actually, yes. Usually, when I scroll first thing, I feel frazzled and behind schedule before I even put my feet on the floor. But yesterday, after just breathing for a minute, I felt steady. I felt like I was the boss of my morning, not my phone. It's a small victory, but it felt huge.
That's the success momentum building, and that leads us right into habit 3, morning light exposure. The science says you should open your curtains or step outside for just 2 minutes of natural light.
2 minutes? That's it? I thought I had to go for a long walk at sunrise or something.
Not at all. Research from Stanford University shows that just letting natural light hit your eyes, not staring at the sun like a confused lizard, mind you, boosts your serotonin and regulates your internal clock. It's your body's natural on switch.
I love that confused lizard image. I can just imagine you standing on your balcony blinking at the sun, Liam. But seriously, it's supposed to improve your mood and even give you more energy later in the afternoon.
It really does. I think of it as charging my batteries with free energy. If you stay in a dark room, your brain thinks it's still nighttime, so it keeps producing melatonin, which makes you feel sluggish and sleepy. You're trying to work, but your brain is still trying to dream.
That explains so much. In the winter, I usually keep the lights low and the curtains closed because it feels cozy, but I end up feeling so unproductive and grumpy. I'm basically keeping my brain in sleep mode all morning.
Exactly. You're fighting your own biology. Even if it's a cloudy day, the natural light outside is much stronger than the lamps in your house. Just standing by a window while you sip your water is enough to tell your brain the day has started, let's get moving.
But, Liam, let's be real. What if someone lives in a place where it's raining or dark at 7 a.m.? Or what if they're just really, really lazy in the morning? It's hard to get out of those warm blankets just to look at a window.
That is where the discipline comes in, Emma. But remember, it's only 2 minutes. You can do anything for 2 minutes. It's about shifting your environment to support your growth. If you stay under the covers in the dark, you're stalling your own happiness.
You're right. It's like the water metaphor we talked about before. Persistence is what counts. 1 minute of breathing, 2 minutes of light. We're only 3 minutes into the day, and already the chemistry in our brain is starting to change for the better.
It's about building that momentum. You're not trying to change your whole life in one giant leap. You're just making these tiny shifts that add up. So no phones, just breathing, and then get some light. Your brain will thank you by 2 p.m. when you aren't hitting that afternoon slump.
I'm definitely going to try the light exposure tomorrow. I'll try not to look too much like a lizard, though. I don't want to scare my neighbors.
Just tell them you're boosting your serotonin. They'll probably want to join in once they see how happy and energized you look.
Maybe. Okay, we've tackled the first 2 big ones, but we're just getting started. There's a pretty powerful psychological snowball effect coming up with Habit 3 that I think a lot of people overlook. Habit 3 is a classic, but the science behind it is much deeper than what our parents used to tell us.
Exactly. The science says that these small, easy wins early in the day create what is called success momentum. Your brain releases dopamine, which is the chemical that motivates you to take action.
Think of it like a psychological snowball. When you finish that one tiny task, your brain says, "Oh, we completed something. Let's complete more."
I used to be such a messy bed person, Liam. I thought, why bother? I'm just going to get back into it tonight anyway. But when I started making it, I noticed I felt more composed.
That's because making your bed tricks your brain into feeling capable and organized. It makes you feel sharper and more motivated throughout the rest of your day.
It really does. But I'll be honest, some mornings I just throw the duvet over the pillows and call it a day. Is that stalling, or does it still count as a win?
Hey, as long as it looks tidy, it counts. The goal isn't to be a perfectionist, it's just to show yourself that you can follow a doable rule. That's a relief. Now, once the bed is made, we move to habit 4, taking 10 deep breaths. This only takes about 45 seconds, but it is a total reset for your nervous system.
I love this one because it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is basically your body's calm mode. It is like hitting the mute button on a noisy alarm before the chaos of the day starts.
The research shows it reduces anxiety and lowers stress. It actually rewires your brain to be more emotionally balanced for hours.
45 seconds for hours of peace? Sounds like a pretty good investment of time to me. Emma, do you actually stop and count the breaths, or do you just breathe while you're running around?
Oh, I have to stop. If I don't, I just drift into thinking about my to-do list. I try to sit on the edge of my newly made bed and just count. Inhale, exhale.
That is the way to do it. It makes you deliberate instead of reactive. You are choosing to be composed before the world tries to make you frazzled.
Speaking of being frazzled, let's talk about everyone's favorite morning ritual, coffee. Habit 5 says we should drink a glass of water before our coffee.
Don't panic, everyone. We aren't taking away your sacred morning coffee. But the truth is, you wake up very dehydrated after sleeping for 8 hours.
Your brain desperately needs water before it gets hit with caffeine. Drinking water first thing boosts your mood, improves your focus, and even reduces that caffeine crash later in the afternoon.
Think of it like oiling the engine before you start the fire. If you blast your brain with a caffeine fireball while it's dry, you're going to feel jittery and stressed.
I am such a coffee-first person, so this was a hard habit to build. I used to feel so sluggish until that first sip of espresso, but now I keep a glass of water on my nightstand to remind me.
That is a smart move. It makes the habit doable because you don't even have to walk to the kitchen to start. You're taking care of future you before you even stand up.
Exactly. And once your brain is hydrated, it's time for habit 6, 1 minute of feel-good movement. You don't need a gym membership or yoga pants for this one.
Just 60 seconds of gentle movement, stretching, shaking out your arms, or even a few squats. You can even dance like nobody is watching because, well, usually nobody is.
Movement releases endorphins, which are your brain's natural happiness relief system. And the cool part is that people who move in the morning actually have better moods in the evening, too.
It is like shaking off the dust from the night. You are telling your body, we are alive, we are moving, and we are ready for joy.
I actually tried the dancing tip this morning, Liam. I put on a very uplifting song and just jumped around my kitchen while the water was boiling. I felt so silly, but I was laughing.
That laughter is the endorphins working their magic. You just turned a boring morning into a joyful moment on purpose. That is financial literacy, but for your emotions.
Heffley, I'm investing in my happiness bank. But I have to ask, Liam, do you ever feel too intimidated to move in the morning if you're feeling stiff or tired?
Sometimes, definitely. But then I remember it only has to be 60 seconds. I just tell myself I can do anything for 1 minute. And that helps me stick to the plan.
That is a great mindset. It's not about an intense workout, it's about consistency. We're building a foundation for a better day 1 minute at a time.
Exactly. We've covered making the bed, breathing, hydrating, and moving. We're only about 6 or 7 minutes into our day, but look at all the good chemicals we've already invited in.
It's incredible. My cortisol is down, my serotonin and dopamine are up, and I haven't even checked my email yet. I feel like a credible boss of my own life.
You are. And speaking of being a boss, Habit 7 is coming up next. Remember, this is the game changer that rewires your emotional baseline completely.
I'm ready. Habit 7 is all about intentions, and I think it's the secret to not just drifting through the day. Let's dive into that one. We have finally made it to Habit 7, and like we said before, this one is the real game changer. It's about writing down just one intention for the day.
Not a long to-do list, just one simple emotional direction. I love this because the brain loves clarity. It's like putting your happiness on a GPS route. If you don't give your brain a destination, it just drifts into stress or worry.
Exactly. My intention today I am going to protect my peace. Usually I feel like a leaf blowing in the wind, but this ritual reduces that mental overload. It makes me feel much more assertive about my time.
That's a strong one, Emma. My intention was to focus on progress, not perfection. It's a way of aligning my thoughts so I don't attack myself when I make a mistake.
But Liam, don't you find it hard to stick to just one? I always want to write down 10 things I want to achieve. It feels like I'm stalling if I only choose one intention.
That's the trap. If you have 10 intentions, you have 0. One clear intention gives your brain a deliberate focus that it can actually follow all day.
You're right. Now, habit 8 is a tough one for me. Avoid negative input for the first hour. That means no drama, no bad news, and no toxic social media comments.
This is vital because your brain is in a programmable state right after you wake up. Whatever you feed it becomes your emotional baseline for the rest of the day. If you start with bad news, your whole day feels heavier.
I used to be a news junkie first thing in the morning. I thought I was being responsible, but I was actually just flooding my brain with anxiety. Now I protect that first hour like it is sacred ground.
It's your emotional foundation. Think of it like a clean house. You wouldn't let someone walk in with muddy shoes the second you finish cleaning, right? Checking the news is like letting those muddy shoes all over your brain.
Great image. Next is habit 9, the 30-second gratitude scan. It's not just cheesy advice. It actually increases dopamine and rewires your mind for positivity. You just remind yourself of one good thing, like a person, or even just the fact that you woke up.
It activates the reward centers in your brain. People who do this are scientifically proven to be happier and emotionally stronger. It only takes 30 seconds, so there's no excuse.
I did my scan this morning while I was looking for my shoes. I realized I was so grateful for my warm tea and this podcast. It made me feel optimistic instead of rushed.
That is the happiness anchor. It's doing one small thing that makes you genuinely happy on purpose. It could be a song, a quote, or even just hugging someone you care about.
It is like emotional armor. Your brain keeps that emotional flavor of joy, and it follows you for hours. If you skip this, your mood depends on whatever the world throws at you.
Exactly. If you do it, you control your emotional state from the start. These 10 habits are a simple, science-backed blueprint to being unshakable.
I feel so much more composed just talking about these. We've gone from confused lizards to people with real emotional armor. It's a complete transformation. All right, everyone, take a deep breath and settle in. It is time for our favorite part of the show, the word tour. This is where we take the most powerful phrases from our science-backed blueprint and break them down so you can actually use them in your own life.
I love this part because it's where the theory becomes reality. We aren't just learning English, we're learning the language of growth. We've picked 5 gems from today's material that will help you sound more natural and feel more in control.
Exactly. Let's start with our first phrase, which is a big one for our morning piece: transition pause.
A transition pause is that tiny bridge between 2 different states of being. In our morning routine, it is that one peaceful minute you take to notice you're awake before you start doing things. It's like the space between the inhale and the exhale. It's where the power lives.
Here's a real-life example of how I used this. Yesterday, my alarm went off and my brain immediately started screaming about a meeting I had at 9 a.m. Usually, I would jump out of bed and start rushing, feeling frazzled. But I practiced the transition pause. I stayed under the covers for exactly 60 seconds, just watching the light on the ceiling and listening to the birds outside. It felt like I was giving my soul a chance to catch up with my body, and I walked into that meeting feeling much more composed.
That is beautiful, Emma. My example is a bit different. I used a transition pause this morning when I was about to grab my phone to check the news. I literally had my hand on the screen, but I stopped. I took 60 seconds to just sit on the edge of the bed and feel my feet on the carpet. That tiny pause changed everything. Instead of starting the day with news anxiety, I started with a sense of clarity and purpose.
Repeat after me. Transition pause.
Transition pause.
Our second phrase is a total motivator, success momentum.
This is the snowball effect of winning. Success momentum happens when you complete a small, easy task early in the day, which releases dopamine and tricks your brain into wanting to finish even bigger things. It's the energy that keeps you moving forward after a small victory.
I see this every time I make my bed. For a long time, I thought it was a vague chore, but now I see it as the start of my success momentum. One morning, making my bed felt so good that I decided to tidy up my desk. Because my desk was clean, I felt capable enough to finally start my taxes, which I had been stalling on for weeks. That tiny win with the duvet led to a massive win with my finances.
That is exactly how it works. For me, success momentum starts with drinking that first glass of water before my coffee. It feels like a small yes to my health. That one yes makes me more assertive later in the day. If I can choose water over a caffeine fireball first thing, I feel like I can choose focus over late-night scrolling later. It's a chain reaction of being your own coach.
Repeat after me. Success momentum.
Success momentum.
Moving to our third phrase, which explains our mood, emotional baseline.
Your emotional baseline is your neutral gear. It is the mood you naturally return to throughout the day. If you fill your first hour with negativity, your baseline stays low and heavy. But if you use these habits, you can rewire that baseline to be much higher and more positive.
I noticed my emotional baseline was really low last week because I was consuming a lot of drama and toxic comments on social media first thing in the morning. Every little problem at work felt like a devastating disaster because my neutral state was already anxious. But once I stopped the negative input, I felt my emotional baseline shift. Now, when a problem happens, I stay composed because my starting point is much more resilient.
It's like the soil we talked about earlier. If the soil of your morning is toxic, nothing good can grow. I worked on my emotional baseline by practicing the gratitude scan for 30 seconds. By reminding myself of something good, I was programming my brain to look for more good things all day. It raised my baseline so much that even a pothole like a flat tire didn't ruin my afternoon.
Repeat after me. Emotional baseline.
Emotional baseline.
Our fourth phrase is a lifesaver for stressful days. Happiness anchor.
A happiness anchor is one intentional small action you do in the morning that makes you genuinely happy. It anchors your mood and gives you emotional armor before you walk into the world. It's a joyful moment you create on purpose, so you're not at the mercy of the world's stress.
My happiness anchor is a very specific, uplifting song I play while I'm brushing my hair. It's just 3 minutes of pure joy. Last Tuesday, I had a very intimidating presentation, and I felt my heart doing cardio from stress, but I focused on the emotional flavor of that song. It was my anchor. It kept me from drifting into a panic and reminded me that I am more than just my work stress.
That is beautiful, Emma. My example is a bit different. I used a transition pause this morning when I was about to grab my phone to check the news. I literally had my hand on the screen, but I stopped. I took 60 seconds to just sit on the edge of the bed and feel my feet on the carpet. That tiny pause changed everything. Instead of starting the day with news anxiety, I started with a sense of clarity and purpose.
Repeat after me. Happiness anchor.
Happiness anchor.
And finally, a word that is the fuel for our goals. Dopamine.
Dopamine is the reward and motivation chemical in your brain. It's what tells you to keep going when things get hard. You get a hit of dopamine when you finish a task like making your bed or when you practice gratitude. It is the biological engine of your success momentum.
I used to think dopamine was only for big things, like getting a promotion, but the blueprint taught me I can get it from tiny things too. This morning, I felt very unproductive, so I just decided to write down one intention. When I finished writing it, I felt that little spark of dopamine. It motivated me to actually follow through, and I ended up having a very fruitful day.
Precisely. Dopamine is like petrol for your willpower. I get my dopamine hit by doing the gratitude scan. When I acknowledge something I'm grateful for, my brain's reward center lights up. It's a natural pick-me-up that doesn't cost a penny, but makes me feel like a millionaire in my mind.
Repeat after me. Dopamine.
Dopamine.
Wow, what a tour! I feel like I have a whole new vocabulary for my happiness.
You really do. These words aren't just for exams, they're the tools you need to turn things around and rise from the ashes of a bad routine.
Wow, Liam, I feel like we've just handed our listeners a map to a much brighter, calmer life. It's amazing how these 10 habits, from the very first 60-second reset to that final happiness anchor, all work together to flood the brain with the happiness chemicals we've been missing.
Exactly. And the most important takeaway is that being a happy morning person isn't about genetics or luck. It is truly about what you decide to do in those first 60 minutes after you open your eyes. It's about taking control of your emotional state instead of letting the world choose it for you.
I'm definitely going to stick to my no phone rule tomorrow morning. If you're listening, I have a small challenge for you. Pick just one of these habits, maybe the 60-second transition pause or drinking water before your coffee, and try it tomorrow morning.
Just one, because one small, easy win leads to success momentum, and that momentum can make you emotionally unshakable. Your day starts now, so make it a good one.
We're so proud of you for showing up and investing in yourself today. If this episode helped you feel a bit sharper or more optimistic, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs a morning reset.
We'll be back soon with more real English and real-life growth. Until then, stay cozy, stay deliberate, and keep moving forward.
This is Emma,
And this is Liam.
and you've been listening to Fluent and Forward. Bye.
Bye-bye.